Story time about how my husband and my dad got into a fist fight on our wedding day. Disclaimer, this is not my story time. I was sending me on Instagram. My dad is in the military, therefore he is super strict. He's never liked any of my boyfriends and especially my fiance. My fiance is a musician, so he sometimes doesn't have a lot of income. So my dad thinks that he's absolutely lazy. I have a really good job and I always end up making a lot more than my fiance. This means that I have to make up for his lack of money. So usually I end up paying for most of the bills and my fiance ends up paying for about a third of our rent. And we do live in a nice fancy apartment. I mean, we've got a pool, a sauna, there's a bunch of amenities, and most of the time my fiance only gives me about $500 towards rent. My dad knows all of these issues, and trust me, it is an issue for me because I want him to be able to provide for me and our babies whenever I get pregnant, but it really irks my dad. But of course, it really bothers my dad. Every time my fiance and I go over to my parents for dinner, my dad is always making comments about how he doesn't earn enough money, and he asks him like, how are you going to provide for your family? And that's when my fiance and him usually get into a fight. Our wedding day was quickly approaching, so I wanted to keep a distance between my fiance and my dad. Everything was good up until the reception. My now husband and I were saying hello to friends. Out of nowhere, my dad tackles my husband down. That's when all hell breaks loose. So my dad body slams my new husband onto the ground. Then of course, all of my husband's friends come attack my dad and try to pull him off of my husband. By the way, my dad is super strong. Like I said in part 1, he's in the army, so he's built and super strong. My dad and my husband were pummeling each other. They were even kicking each other on our wedding day. And yeah, I'm in my wedding dress crying. Everyone else is going crazy. Luckily, I invited a friend and her boyfriend is a cop. So he went up to my dad, who was clearly the stronger one in the fight, and was able to restrain him. When they were finally separated, my dad started yelling at my husband, calling him a liar and a cheater. And when I heard my dad say that, my stomach dropped. I knew that my dad had my back and that he probably found out something about my husband. My dad grabs my hand and pulls my mom into a separate room. Then he shows me pictures of my husband with another woman in a parking lot. That's when my dad explained to me that he didn't trust my fiance, so he decided to hire a private investigator to follow him around. Remember in part 1, I said that I was paying for almost everything in our relationship? My dad really hated this, and he was convinced that instead of going to work, my fiance was spending time with another woman. And guess what? He was right. Of course, my dad felt really bad about causing a whole scene, but that's when he told me that we had to annul the marriage. I honestly didn't know what to do at the time, so I told my dad that I needed to speak to my husband. My friend's boyfriend, the cop, was there the whole time. He took my dad out of the room and then brought in my husband. Of course, my mom stayed in the room with me to have some backup, and we grilled my husband for about 20 minutes. First, he denied everything, but when I showed him the picture that my dad showed me, he said it was just a friend. Of course, my mom and I weren't buying it. That's when he finally confessed that it was his old girlfriend and that they were just saying goodbye for one last time. That's when he showed me all the text messages between him and his ex, and everything was pretty innocent. I asked him why he didn't tell me that he was going to go see his ex, and he told me that he just didn't want any drama with my dad. The cop brought my dad back in the room. I asked him to stay inside while my dad and my husband and I talked. I explained to my dad everything that happened, but he wasn't buying his story. My dad kept saying that we just needed to get a divorce. My husband was crying and begging me to forgive him. Then my dad started attacking him again. Once again, the cop had to restrain him and he put him in a chokehold. My dad attacked my husband for a second time. Luckily, my friend's boyfriend, who was a cop, was there and was trying to manage the situation. Basically, we called off the entire reception. So $7,000 right down the drain. My husband and I were supposed to leave that night to Greece. I told my parents we should still go on the honeymoon and they agreed. But obviously my dad was really upset about it. But while we were in Greece, I caught my husband texting his ex again. This woman texted him saying that she missed him. Then he told her about the fight he got into with my dad. Then she said that my whole family is crazy and that he shouldn't have married into it. I confronted my husband and he told me that he needed her as a friend and that I just needed to deal with it. Then I told him that I was the one that paid for basically everything in our relationship, including most of our wedding and our honeymoon, and that he needed to be grateful to me and to my family. That's when he said that he would never speak to my family again. That's when I told him that the relationship wasn't going to work then. Now that we're back home, my parents really want me to get a divorce, but I'm not sure. Obviously, he has feelings for his ex and so does she. But I mean, I still love him. Why should I lose out? My husband is being super distant and barely talks to me. My dad is upset with me too because I haven't gotten a divorce. Should I just file for divorce? What should I do?
I, 30 male, pissed my wife, 27 female off, and now she wants me to do everything. To begin, when I met my now wife, she had about $9,000 in credit card debt. She grew up in poverty, got her first credit card, and got into financial trouble with it. She told me about it pretty early on in the serious phase of our relationship, and even told me about her plan to fix it. Showed me her budget and had a time frame. To her credit, she did it. That was 5 years ago. We're now married with twins. She's a stay-at-home mom, but receives about $1,000 per month in VA disability and cleans houses part-time while our kids are in school. The $1,000 goes entirely to our mortgage, plus some of the money that she makes cleaning houses because she likes to put extra on the principal. So she has her own spending money. We do have one credit card, mine, of which she's an authorized user. I do stay vigilant about the card because I guess I never really let myself trust her with money. On to the problem. I noticed early earlier this week, after years of good financial decisions and fiscal responsibility on her part, that the credit card seemed higher than normal. My wife hadn't mentioned anything, and I hadn't seen anything expensive coming into the house. So I was shocked to see charges from GameStop, grocery store charges outside of her normal shopping trip, a salon, Walmart, a movie theater, and Amazon. It came out to about $600, and I immediately realized she had a relapse. I confronted her in the kitchen while she was putting together something for our kids' class, and I admit I laid right into her. She agreed she had messed up, would return everything, and give me back the credit card. I thought this was an admission of guilt, which made me even more angry, and demanded to know how much she spent on these Halloween goodie bags she was putting together because it looked expensive, and I didn't see why we would spend so much on first graders. And she said only $15 since she got everything at the dollar store. She told me that everything had been returned, and now I was in charge of the birthday party, the birthday presents, and the Christmas shopping, and the class Christmas party contribution, since I didn't trust her to do those things. Turns out all those charges were for the kids' birthday and birthday party at the movie theater. Christmas shopping she had actually finished for everyone we usually buy for, and even the salon charges were for our son's haircuts. Now she's returned everything, and even has told me grocery shopping is also my job now. I can't handle all that. I didn't even remember it was my kids' birthday soon. How do I fix this so we can go back to how it was? I've already groveled, and she just says I apparently have 5 years of groveling to do if all I've been waiting for is the other shoe to drop, when she's been nothing but exemplary when it comes to finances in all this time. Help, please.
Wow.
I'm 32 and I've been married to my husband, 39, for 4 years. I work a full-time job while he does a 3 times a week night shift. We have a 2-year-old and I'm 6 months pregnant. My husband has a large family, and on every Christmas they gather at his father's house. My father-in-law passed away a year ago, and this year my husband decided as the man of the family to host Christmas at our house. Unbeknownst to me, he signed on invitations for a 5-day Christmas celebration to his entire family, which are about 26 members in total. I found out by accident and I was too shocked to react. I confronted him on it, and he said I shouldn't be surprised and just get used to it because after his father's death, he's now the family's head, and all major family events will be held in our house and in his presence. I freaked out and said no, this is wrong, and he should have talked to me first before sending out any invitations to his family, knowing I have other commitments like work and taking care of the house and our son. He said we'll manage if I took time off of work, but that means more workload later, and it would take away from my maternity leave. I demanded he cancel the invitations, but he refused, saying over my dead body, and then walked out. I ended up sending a mass text to everyone who received an invitation explaining that we will not be hosting Christmas this year. He found out and went off on me, calling my behavior outrageously appalling, and said that I broke his word to his family and made him look small and with no authority. I, in a very strict tone, replied that I didn't sign up to host a celebration and accommodate 26 people while pregnant, taking care of a toddler, and working. I don't care if he became the head of the family after his father's death because he means nothing to me. He took offense to that and walked out almost crying. He later talked about how I disrespected his father and him with what I said and demanded a handwritten apology for canceling the event. He also wanted me to apologize for being insensitive towards him and undermining his authority in front of his family, but I said no apology from me in any form. The issue is still up, especially with my mother-in-law giving me a stern talk about how out of line I was for disrespecting my husband's decision regarding the holiday celebration with family. Am I the asshole for refusing to apologize to my husband in writing after I canceled all his family invitations to a Christmas celebration at our house?
So this was like a couple of months ago. I had this client come in for a color. Okay, cool. Nice girl and whatnot, but she could not stop looking in the mirror when I was doing her hair. Oh, my mirror's on the right side of me and my client, so she would have to physically move her head to see herself in the mirror. At first, I was a little annoyed because if you didn't trust me doing your hair, why would you book me? So after we got done with the color, I started styling her with my flat iron. As soon as I started straightening her hair, she turned sideways to look at the mirror and I burnt my hand. And it wasn't like a little sizzle burn. It was like a little boil burn. And after she made me burn myself, she just sat there and didn't say nothing. After that, she asked to use the restroom. So she went to the restroom and I decided to move my mirror off my station. I set my mirror on the ground so she couldn't see. And when she came upstairs, she was just looking so confused. So I started finishing her hair and then I just see her little Snapchat camera on, watching me through her camera do her hair. I was
To anyone, but she always seems to go out of her way to do stereotypically smart things. Like, for example, she does the New York Times crossword and Sudoku every day. She can get into trashy reality TV and action movies and stuff, but when I look at her Netflix profile, it's mostly highbrow, artsy, and foreign type movies and TV shows. She also knows a lot of random things about classical music, art, and literature, even though she was a STEM major, and I'm pretty sure she only looks that stuff up so that she can seem more educated and cultured. Over the weekend, my aunt and uncle were visiting from out of town, and my uncle, a college English teacher, kept commenting on what a great book collection we had and asked me what my favorites were. I haven't really read anything off the shelves. I mainly read my tablet and I'm not into classics now that I'm out of high school, and I just mentioned that they were Anna's mostly. Anyway, at dinner he started talking about some book with Anna, and I made a joke along the lines of, don't grill her too hard, she just has a bunch of pretentious books so people know she's smart. And both Anna, my uncle, and aunt got mad at me and told me that I was being rude. But I was just being honest, and Anna should know that she does come across as pretentious. Am I the asshole for telling my girlfriend that she's pretentious?
Okay, I was just getting ready to go out for a drink with a girl that I had met online, and something weird just happened. I literally just did my hair and I was about to do my makeup, and something in my gut was just like, get a picture of her. Obviously she had pictures on her profile and stuff, and it all looked like the same girl, but then I started looking a little bit closer and some of them had like a phone over the face, you know, and so it was like, I'm not sure if that's even the same person. Her account wasn't verified, so I did take a screenshot of one of her pictures, and I do have it, but I just messaged her and I was like, hey, can I get like your Snapchat or your Instagram just so I can make sure you're a real person? And we had set a time and place to meet. Like, I would literally be there right now. But I sent that message, and then the next time I went to go and look at our messages, she had unmatched me, like right after I sent it. I don't know if I'm wrong, but oh my gosh. Like, I was just gonna go meet someone.
Ex-brother-in-law doesn't want me to treat his kids differently. I, 42 female, spoil my nephew Chris and spend a lot of time with him. Chris is my late sister's son. My sister died when he was 5 after a heart attack, as she had an undetected heart condition. Chris spends a lot of time at our house where my parents, his grandparents, husband, 2 daughters, and 2 sons also live. Chris also has his own room in my house and his own set of keys. He comes and goes as he pleases. Chris also has a great bond with his cousin, who all consider him their brother. As far as my husband and I go, he's also our son and is included in everything that we do and for our kids. He goes with us on all our vacations, and this year my husband and I bought him a car for his 16th birthday, just as we did for our eldest son when he turned 16. My parents and I also plan on paying his way through college, same as his cousin, since ex-brother-in-law could never afford to. Ex-brother-in-law wants me to include his other kids, 2 teenage stepsons and his 2 boys, and a daughter with his wife, into our time with him. His other kids often get jealous of all the attention and money we spend on Chris, and his wife feels like I'm driving a wedge between the kids. Especially their older son Tom also wants a car, but again, ex-brother-in-law and wife can't afford it. They want me to make Chris share his car with Tom. I told them I would not persuade Chris to share. I'm not even gonna lie, but I don't like ex-brother-in-law. I certainly don't like his wife. And their kids are obnoxious, mean little shits. But I obviously never treat them in an unkind manner, and I don't allow Chris to speak to them or about them in a disrespectful manner. Even though I know they constantly exclude Chris, purposely break his things, and make him feel like an outsider. I don't feel like it's my responsibility to consider the other kid's ex-brother-in-law has. And at the moment, I don't know how to deal with the situation. And any advice on making Chris's life more comfortable, I'd love.
In 2019, I got into a car accident and injured my left leg severely. My ex-girlfriend was the one driving and was the one responsible for the accident because she was fighting and yelling at me in the car over a minor issue. I advised her to either stop fighting or stop driving, but she was reckless and didn't care that she was risking not only my life, but hers as well. I suffered for months because of my leg. I had a severe infection resulting in amputation and had to use assisted tools to be able to move. My ex-girlfriend became distant and my parents were my main carers. Her treatment towards me took a 180 turn. Suddenly, I wasn't good enough for her anymore, and at some point, she started comparing me to other fully functional guys, claiming I wasn't the problem. It's her low self-esteem, and she was required to look for a partner with a better look, financial stability, and so on. She made my trauma all about her and how being with a guy with one leg affected her self-esteem. She broke things off with me, and our relationship was supposed to end that day, but I foolishly spent months and months begging and convincing her that we were meant to be together. I even promised her that I'd do all I can to be able to walk again, and reminded her of the plans we had together, and I hated myself for it. My self-esteem was almost non-existent. I was dealing with PTSD on top of that. I fucked up and resorted to medication to ease the pain. Therapy was on and off for me because I'd get extremely agitated at the mention of my ex-girlfriend. I was so stupid thinking she was my one and only, and it got worse when I became convinced that no one will accept me and my disability since it's the reason my relationship with my ex-girlfriend ended. My parents helped us so much. They and a few friends supported me to get through this after seeing my overall health decline. In the past 6 months, I was given the opportunity to be able to walk again after getting my prosthetic leg. It was long overdue, but money was the main problem. I'm a lot better now. My health is getting better, my mental health improved, and gained more self-confidence. My ex-girlfriend reached out to one of my friends wanting to talk to me about getting the prosthesis and bettering my health. My friend was like a messenger between us, but I kept her in the dark so that she knows nothing more than what my friend knows. I made it clear that I have no intentions to speak to her or discuss my health with her. My friend was respectful and stopped speaking to her about me. She visited my mom last week and left her number with her expecting me to call. My mom told me that my ex was out of town and was low contact with everyone and couldn't check in on me despite wanting to. She said I've never left her mind and that she was feeling happy and excited for my experience with my new prosthesis. Right now, she's waiting for me to call so we can get together and talk, but I didn't feel comfortable with the idea. I gotta say, I felt nostalgic and wanted to call her number a few times, but part of me prevented me from doing so. It's been a week and I didn't call her. I'm not sure if I still have feelings for her. My family said that I should talk to her. After all, we've known each other for 7 years. It's clear that she wants to connect, but I just don't think this is what I want. How should I deal with this pressure? My girlfriend lied to me about her age and is actually 18. I'm shocked and I don't know if I can proceed with this relationship. Long story short, I was using Hinge and I sent her a comment since I saw from her profile that we had a lot in common. It said she was 21, goes to a nearby college, etc. She even confirmed that with me, telling me a birthday that would say that she's 21. We matched in the fall of 2020 and have been dating since November to now. Well, it wasn't until our most recent date where at this time I asked if she wanted to get drinks and she tells me that she can't. Obviously, drinking age is 21 and up, and she said she wanted to tell me for a while, but she was using the dating apps while in high school. So at 15, she put that her age was 18 and never deleted it. She said that she just forgot about it, and I know that people use dating apps when they're a year or two younger, but for months she kept it a secret. She was my first girlfriend and meant a lot to me. She gave me space because she said that she knows it's a lot to take in. The thing is, I don't know if I can move past this, and I feel weird dating someone way younger than me. She says she loves me and that we can make this work, but is that even possible? If I knew her true age at the time that I messaged her, even if we had all this in common or got along well, I still wouldn't have dated her. I'm 25 and I want to be able to have a future and significant other who I can share that life with, but she's not on the same level of finances and life that I am. And she probably won't be for a few years if I do stick it out. What should I do?
Am I wrong for telling my sister-in-law no one cares that she's pregnant? See, this is one of those posts where it's like, duh. you're the asshole, but then when I read it, it's like, oh, never mind, watch. Backstory. My cousin, 33 female, who I'll call Mary, lost her husband, 32 male, and 2 of her 3 children, 3 female and 9-month-old male, in a car accident last week. Her and her daughter, 5, are as you would expect, and it's just heartbreaking. Well, today was the funeral, and my brother's wife announced her pregnancy the second they arrived at our house this morning, and we were like, okay, congratulations, but please keep it on the down low for today. Well, when we arrived at the church, she kept making gagging sounds and rubbing her stomach, saying, I, as a mom, can't imagine what she's going through. They have no kids, so people would look at her and she'd tell them she was pregnant. Afterwards, at my aunt's house, my sister-in-law kept making everything about her. Like someone was in the bathroom and my sister-in-law would loudly say, pregnant lady needs to pee. She literally told my cousin to give her seat so the lady with the baby could rest her feet. I ignored her until she came to Mary, stuck out her flat belly and said, me and Isaac just found out I was pregnant, and honestly, we are beside ourselves. It could happen to us. Mary broke down crying. I snapped. Who says that to a woman who just literally lost 2 babies? I said loudly to my sister-in-law, no one gives an F you're pregnant. Look around. It's not just 1, but 2 babies' funerals, not to mention the love of Mary's life. Like, I knew you were an attention seeker, but for fuck's sake, you took the test 4 days ago. Just leave. Good for you. She did leave in tears, and my brother called me a fat, bitter bitch. Oh, what the fuck? I've gotten phone calls from my brother and my sister-in-law's family calling me the world of names because I made a pregnant woman cry. Mary and my aunt thank me, but if I'm being honest, I feel bad about causing a scene. So please put me in my place if I'm wrong. Her husband, your brother should have pulled her aside and be like, yo, what the fuck are you doing? Shut the fuck up. But if he don't do it, you can do it. So, little update. I found out this morning that my brother and my sister-in-law harassed my cousin with phone calls for her to talk to me about yesterday. My aunt gave both of them an earful and then made my cousin turn off her phone. My brother and my sister-in-law were at my parents' house trying to get their side in when I arrived. They both came at me screaming and yelling about my sister-in-law's feelings, and she couldn't miscarry from the stress I caused her. Sister-in-law said if I didn't lose my attitude and apologize, I'd never be in their child's life. Oh, brother, step up, brother. I told her I didn't care, and if she was going to use the kid as a weapon, I didn't want to be in their life anyway. Things got heated, and my father ended up kicking out my brother and my sister-in-law. So yeah, all this drama at a time, we should be there for one another. I'm so sorry you have to go through that, but your sister-in-law's fucking psycho. Your brother's whipped too.
I've got a story you need to hear, especially if you work in the service industry. So, I'm blind and I love makeup, and I've recently been looking for a new red holiday festive lip and a new pink lipstick. So the other day, my mom, my guide dog, and I went into a MAC Cosmetics store, and I had such a positive experience, and I want to share this with you because this is such a great way of how to interact with a blind customer. So as soon as I walked in, she said, hi, welcome to MAC. Can I ask, are you blind? And I was first off just really impressed that she recognized that I might be blind, because unfortunately, for some reason, a lot of the time people assume, despite the fact that I have a service dog, that I'm just training him, that I am not blind and in need of his service. And then I was also appreciative and happy that she felt comfortable enough to ask me. It is not a bad word. Blind is not a bad word. It's okay. I'm aware that I'm blind. You're not the one who's bringing it up for the first time ever. So I was really happy, and it showed me that she's comfortable with disability. It doesn't make her feel uncomfortable to ask me, are you blind? When I said yes, she said, how can I best assist you, and what are you looking for? So I told her what I was looking for, and I said, you know, I feel like the best thing we can do is work together as a team. My mom knows me. She knows what I like and what looks good on me, and you know makeup. So I think we're going to figure this out. She guided me over to the lipstick area, and she started to pull all of the pinks and the reds. She started to ask me, what finish do you want? What do you want it to feel like on your lips? What do you want it to look like? And then she started trying to swatch and describe the colors. And I kind of said, hey, do you think you'd be willing to look up online on the MAC website and see how they describe the colors? And she's like, that's a great idea. So she spent like 20 minutes with me, happily pulling colors, swatching them, describing them from her perspective, having my mom describe them from her perspective, and reading the description of the color on the MAC website. I could not have been more appreciative. And then the funniest thing happened when I checked out with my 3 new products, including this lipstick, Red Rock, in case anyone's wondering. She asked for my email address, and I told her, which has my name, Molly Burke, and she started to freak out, screaming, oh my God, you're the famous Molly Burke. And literally in my mind, I was like, took a second, and I was like, is there a Molly Burke that is famous? I don't think so. I think she probably is referring to me, because I feel like people always are like, oh, I follow you on TikTok, I follow you on YouTube, but I rarely hear people call me famous. So I was like taken aback, but she was like literally bracing herself against the wall because she was like gonna pass out. It was the cutest thing ever. So Patina at the MAC Cosmetics store, if you're seeing this, thank you, girl. You were an incredible customer service worker, and I appreciate you so much.
For those of you guys that don't know, I used to be a professional booster. That's how, right, honey, when I needed something, I would go get it professionally. And I'm going to tell you the story about the time that I went boosting, but I got caught. So I had devised this plan, and I had been doing it for about 2 years, where I would go to Dillard's every Tuesday at 6 when their truck came. And I would walk around the purse area where the makeup's at and that kind of thing, and I would watch and see that the associates were not putting the purses on their little things where they lock them on there. Usually they lock the really expensive purses on the stand that they're sitting on. So I was able to go shoplift a couple and then run out the main entrance into the mall, take a right, and hit that door. Well, me and my husband, we had just really started to get together and meet each other. We'd probably been together for like 6 months, and we had no pills, and we was hurting. And we had borrowed money from everyone. So I was like, you know what? I know a plan. I can go get these purses, and then we can sell them to the dope man, we can sell them to some ladies, whatever, and we can get enough money to get some pills. He's like, are you sure? And I'm like, yes, don't worry. We had the last bit of Xanax that we had. I took a couple and he took a couple, and that's all we had. And I took off to Little Rock, to Dillard's. So my husband, I say, stay in this car. Do not come in no matter what. If I'm not back in 30 minutes, leave. So I go in and I'm scoping it out, and I see, just like I said, my purses. They're not attached to the displays. So I go grab 3 on this arm and 3 on this arm. And instead of running out into the main entrance of the mall, I decide I'm going to take a shortcut and run out the Dillard's door straight out to the parking lot. Super easy, right? So I'm running, and I hit the door, and it ain't moving, baby. It's not moving. And I turn around, and there was a police officer standing right there. Hello, little missy. Ah, shit. Now. So he grabs me up, pats me down, finds all my utensils. I had a pair of toenail clippers. I had a screwdriver. I had all kinds of shit to pop stuff off if I needed to. And he takes me back to this back room and says, I'm calling. You're going to get a ticket, and you're going to go to jail today. Fair enough. Fair enough. Hopefully Neil will just leave, and I'll go to jail, and he can come get me out. Honey, those cops were busy taking care of real crime, and nobody could come get me. So he said, you know what? You're lucky, because you're getting out of here today, and I'm going to let you go. Get out of here and don't come back. So I ran out, jumped in the truck. Guess who's not in the truck? My man. He was so worried about me, he went back in looking for me.
I'm an asshole for stealing my best friend's husband. My best friend and I had been best friends for years. She's been married super long to her husband. Little did she know that her husband and I used to date back in high school. But we were so young that it just didn't work out. I never told her because I didn't want her to feel uncomfortable. But I'm gonna be honest, I never got over him. And seeing how he treats her makes me so jealous. I started to text him again, all friendly, nothing romantic or anything. And then he started flirting with me. I told him that we cannot do that because of his wife and my best friend. And he told me that their marriage was not that good anyways, and he was going to divorce her soon. My best friend didn't tell me any of this. I had no idea that their relationship was rocky. He did end up divorcing her about a year later, and then he asked me out on a date. I said yes. I do feel like this is breaking girl code, but we're all grown-ups here. And it's not really childish. My best friend found out and she's livid with me and won't even talk to me. She said I stole her husband. And I told her, no, you stole my boyfriend.
I genuinely cannot tell if men think that we're stupid or if they're just oblivious to certain things. So I was seeing this guy, not exclusively, just going on dates, getting to know each other. And after a while, I was telling him about how I really wanted to get into social media. And he was like, hey, I know this girl from the city that we lived in that's super successful in that area. You should follow her, or at least check out her page. And so I'm looking at her page. She has a lot of followers. And I'm like, oh, that's so cool. How do you know her? Because he's super not into social media. And he was like, oh, I went on a date with her like 2 or 3 years ago, just one date. Cool. No big deal. So I followed her. And she's very openly talking about all of her dating experiences and how up until a couple months ago, she was in a 5-year relationship. Long story short, he was also seeing her at the same time he was seeing me. That's not really what I found weird. It just was the fact that he told me to follow her. I just can't imagine seeing 2 guys and telling one of them to follow the other one on Instagram.
Okay, story time. For those of you that don't know, my name's Cassandra. This is my brother, Johnny. We're from Springfield, Missouri, and on November 16th, I had made the trip to North Dakota to pick up Johnny from prison. He had spent the last 10 years in federal prison for robbing 2 banks when he was 19 years old. Side note, we are not celebrating his crime, but instead we are celebrating family reunification and second chances. So when he was 19, he robbed those banks and he had to do 10 years. So here we are, November 16th, 2021. I had picked him up from prison. We had to make the long trip back, which was about 13 hours, to Springfield, Missouri. We stopped about 5 hours away from Springfield, Missouri in Omaha, Nebraska, where we went to Walmart and got him some clothes and then went and got a steak dinner. And then that's when I had basically forced him to do the viral TikTok video. And we basically giggled all night about how silly it was, and he could not believe that was going to be his debut into the world. And I posted it, and I've been on TikTok for like 2 years, and none of my videos have gone viral or anything like that. So we didn't really expect anything to come of it. It was just basically an older sister forcing her little brother to do a TikTok video. So yeah, hours after he was released, he made that TikTok video. We went to bed and we'd had like 1,000 views or something like that on the video and still really didn't expect much of it. When we woke up, we saw that we had like 46,000 views on it. Now to me, that was a big deal. And my brother didn't know what was going on. He kept saying, well, how far does this go? And I said, well, I don't know. I've never been here before. So we were literally going viral while I was trying to race back to get him back to Springfield, Missouri, because he had to check into the halfway house by a certain time that next day. Mind you, I'm trying to teach him about TikTok, how to use the phone, and drive us back. But we had the best time of our lives realizing what was happening and how cool it was and all of the support we continue to get. We've gotten very little hate. I mean, I think total maybe like 20 comments of hate from thousands. People begged me for my Venmo and sent Johnny close to $1,000, which helped him get started in life. Clothes, a bike, and all that stuff. So Johnny did have to quarantine at the halfway house for 7 days, and his first day off of quarantine was Thanksgiving, which he did get to spend with me and my family. The Monday after Thanksgiving, he got called in for an interview on Tuesday and began working on Wednesday. So he's working, he's doing good, he's getting to spend some time with his family, and he's readjusting to life, which isn't easy, but he's doing.